Welcome to This Explainer. If you've been anywhere near the developer community recently, you've probably noticed this massive, honestly kind of confusing divide. We've got developers using AI coding agents and having wildly different experiences. Why is it that some devs treat AI like it's absolute magic, while others completely dismiss it as total garbage? Well, today we're going to unravel this paradox. We'll look at what's actually happening under the hood and explore how a massive shift in engineering is starting to solve the problem. So if you scroll through platforms like Reddit or X right now, you're going to see two completely opposite realities. On one hand, you've got this extreme hype, developers claiming they're practically never touching code manually again, saying AI is just building entire features for them. But then you look at the other camp and you've got experienced developers literally throwing their hands up in frustration, saying the AI produces absolute garbage when it's actually unleashed on a real-world production app. It's really easy to look at this and assume someone is lying, right? Like maybe the hype guys are just trying to sell AI, or the frustrated guys are just stubborn skeptics. But as Johan Lodgley from Poolside AI points out in his deep dive into this topic, both of these experiences are completely real. The difference isn't the developers, it's the environment they're working in.
All right, Section 1, Greenfield versus Brownfield apps.
To understand why this massive divide exists, we have to look at the architecture of the applications themselves. A greenfield application is basically a brand new, fresh code base. When an AI agent works in a greenfield environment, its intuition is incredibly accurate. It knows that if it writes a new component, it's probably going to work right out of the gate because everything follows standard, highly predictable patterns. But then we have brownfield applications. These are your legacy systems. They're messy, they're complicated, and they are packed with unexpected complexities. In a brownfield app, an AI agent completely lacks the context of how all these different older parts of the code interact with each other. It is essentially working blindfolded. Johan actually had this perfect phrase for what an AI agent experiences when looking at legacy code bases. Here be dragons. When an AI explores a brownfield application, it's expecting logic, but instead it encounters all these hidden dangers. It runs into dead ends, old code that isn't even used anymore but is just sitting there, and highly specific custom logic it hasn't ever seen. Its intuition, which is so brilliant in a fresh app, completely falls apart when it stumbles into the dragons lurking in legacy code. Moving on to Section 2, the missing feedback loop. Okay, so context is clearly a huge issue, but context alone doesn't tell the whole story. If we want to move from all this frustration to actual success, we absolutely have to address the real missing link here, the feedback loop. Let's just walk through exactly where things break down in a typical workflow today. Step 1, the agent writes some code based on your prompts. Step 2, the agent reports back and basically says, hey, I've implemented the workflow and it's working perfectly. But here is the massive catch. What the agent actually means is, to the best of my very limited capabilities, this kind of looks like it should work. It hasn't actually tested it properly. So you hit Step 3. The code utterly fails when you try to run it in the real application. And naturally, Step 4, you, the developer, lose trust. If you're already a skeptic, you see this failure, assume the AI is totally useless, and you just give up. The AI desperately needs a way to know if its work actually succeeded before it hands it back to you. Now, what's really interesting is that we can actually fix this broken loop. Johan built a custom command line interface tool that he calls Poolside, which allows the AI to verify its own work. Just look at what this empowers the agent to do. It takes token-compressed snapshots of the application's DOM so the AI can literally see the screen. It can interface with VS Code extensions, pull logs from both the front end and back end, and even restart services totally autonomously. But the absolute game changer is that last point. It forces the AI to actively reproduce a bug before it starts trying to fix it. Instead of just blindly guessing, the AI has to navigate menus, trigger the error, and read the logs exactly like a human engineer would. And listen, the whole point of giving an AI these capabilities isn't just to write slightly better code. The ultimate goal here is unattended trust. If you have to constantly babysit your AI, verify every single line it writes, and run all the tests yourself, you're just wasting your own time. A true feedback loop allows the agent to prove its work. Once you know the AI can reliably reproduce a bug, fix it, and then verify the fix autonomously, you finally reach a point where you can confidently kick off a task and let the agent run overnight while you sleep. Section 3, Building Tools for AI. Getting to that magical level of unattended trust requires a pretty big shift in how we build our environments. The takeaway here isn't that you should go scour GitHub right now to download Johan's specific tool. It's that you need to start building tools for your AI. You have to take a step back and design systems that make the AI self-aware. If a button is rendering way too far to the left, you shouldn't have to point that out. You need an environment where the AI can notice that mistake on its own. You can implement retrospective log reviews, where the AI looks at its past actions and actually spots its own bad habits. Like maybe it keeps lazily calling a sleep 15 command instead of actually waiting for a process to finish properly. You also have to think about your specific product. If you're building a 3D game in Unity, for example, maybe you need to build a system that generates an ASCII representation of the 3D world, just so the AI can understand where objects are. You are basically building custom lenses so the AI can see your product clearly. And that brings us to Section 4, the rise of AIX engineers. This is a massive philosophical and career shift for the engineering profession. Enter the AIX, or AI Experience Engineer. This is an engineer whose primary focus is no longer just typing out application code. Instead, their entire job is building the tools, the knowledge bases, and the customized environments that make it incredibly easy for an AI to work on the product. It's a total shift in mindset, from writing the features yourself to facilitating the AI so it can write the features reliably. Just compare this to our current reality. The traditional 2025 product engineer is usually hyper-focused on one thing, building features and maintaining velocity. But in an AI-driven world, prioritizing traditional product velocity can actually become a really dangerous trap. Because if you just let agents run loose without a safe environment, you are going to multiply and compound errors faster than a human ever could. The AIX engineer, on the other hand, is completely focused on safety and verification. They are actively improving the codebase not for human readers, but to make it easier for agents to navigate, ensuring that those errors don't spiral out of control. To really hammer this home, think of the classic airline safety briefing. Put the mask on yourself before you assist others. Or in this case, put the mask on your infrastructure before you worry about the features. You have to self-serve the AI first. You absolutely must invest the time up front to build out these testing tools, these feedback loops, and these custom logs for your agents. Yes, it might slow down your feature delivery temporarily today, but it is an absolute necessity. It's an investment that's going to pay massive dividends the moment you start scaling up multiple agents to work on your codebase simultaneously. Which brings us to the core realization of this entire explainer. I want you to look at your daily priorities. Really ask yourself, are you still just building products, or are you building for the AI? Because the developers who figure out how to make their environments hospitable to AI are the ones who are truly going to unlock that unattended magic. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I highly encourage you to look at your own codebases this week and ask where your hidden dragons are. I'll see you next time.